Hey, it's Coach Taylor here from SmarterTeamTraining.com. Recently, I guess I should say, I've been asked a lot about combine prep, and I don't know if it's stemming from the conversations we've had at the SCT regional events or the conferences or that type of thing, but social media and email, and we've just been getting a lot of questions about combine prep, and it's from the 40 to the pro agility, the vertical to the bench pressing, the whole gamut. And I had an opportunity to reach out to a gentleman named Justin Kavanaugh. He actually spoke at the conference this past July here for STT and that we did in Baltimore. He did a great job. He got a ton of positive feedback, and I reached out to him even after the event and just said, hey, Justin, would you mind getting on the show and just having a talk to share your experiences and your knowledge. And again, like I always say, man, I'm always honored to have unbelievable people get on the show here just to share their knowledge, just share their experiences, and just talk about what's worked for them. So, Justin, man, you and I talked about it before the show and several times. To be honest with everybody, it's an honor to have you on the show, my man. I look forward to just talking some shop here and getting to know a little bit more about what's worked for you, my man.
Well, I appreciate it, Rob. Thanks again. And also, I mean, it's been an honor just being a part of the events in the past. And it's an honor to be on the show with the platform that everyone else has been on. There's some great coaches you've had here, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Justin, man, I know your background, and I've actually had an opportunity to obviously get a chance to know you throughout the years here, a little bit of pieces here and there as we've done events, and you've attended events, and now getting a chance to speak at events. I want to know a little bit more about you as a person, man. I want to share a little bit about how you got involved in the field, and a little bit about your passion that's really been there since day one. And if you wouldn't mind just walk me through a little bit about how your passion really got established for becoming involved in the field.
I got into the industry very differently than a lot of other strength coaches. Most of the guys have, athletes that go through college, you get an exercise science degree, kinesiology degree, they want to coach, they want to do something, and then they find their way in the weight room because that's where they're good at. I actually got involved in strength and conditioning and performance coaching while I was an athlete. I was a 5-sport athlete down in Miami, and down there you're training with a lot of guys that have already had, very good successful careers, very competitive down there. And basically, early on in my career when I was training, I was working with a bunch of guys that I was working out with, and, a guy comes up to me one day and says, hey, you're training me. And he's, a professional football player, and he's one of my friends that we worked out together, and I'm like, what do you mean I'm training you? I work out with you. And he's like, well, I trust you. And long story short, he was in a situation where he, lost trust in the person that was with him, and his agent lied to him, and somebody was stealing money from him, and he trusted me. So early on, it was like, oh, crap, I got thrown into this role. I just needed to go with it. And I really enjoyed working with people and pushing people because it made me better. And during that process, I mean, what better opportunity for me to work with athletes and end up getting paid for it, because that's what I was doing anyway. I was an athlete, just like they were, and I wanted to learn as much as I could about the body and as much as I could about, the training process, because I needed to get better myself. And when you work with other people, I learned that's how you actually, learn the skill better than anything, is when you teach it. So that's kind of how I got into the industry, and then from there it's kind of grown. I was, I obviously pursued my career at the college level playing football, and I was a 5-sport athlete and turned into, how do I take what I've learned from all these different sports and turn it into, a business. And, you then go on to, you get your education, you work from there. But at the end of the day, what's the main purpose? To me, the main goal was, I wanted to help people get to a point where I couldn't be, or where they couldn't take themselves. For me, I knew that it all started from trust, because that's how I got into it. So everything I've done from there moving forward was all about building trust and relationships with the athlete, so that when I told them to do something, it didn't matter if it was crazy. They would do it, and they would run through, fire for me, or run through a brick wall for me. That's really where kind of it all started. And once you get that, there's no better joy than watching somebody, achieve a goal that you help be a part of. You might just be a little piece, but you're a part of it. And for me, that's a big deal.
I know you've had an opportunity to work with a ton of high school players going into the college ranks, and then again going from the college into the professional ranks in several different sports. I mean, what are two main attributes that you've seen in successful athletes?
The two main components of successful athletes that I've seen have been the ability to be selfish is one. The other one is the ability to be a good teammate. And people think that, well, that's crazy. They're completely different from one another, and they are. But the multiple sports that I played taught me a lot about what it is to be selfish. I was a wrestler. I fought. I did MMA, I did jiu-jitsu. If you play baseball, you learn different things of what it's like to be an individual in the confines of a sport. And during that process, the only thing you're doing is getting yourself better. And if you take that same mentality to training and you're only focused on yourself, you're able to bring a better product to the team sport, and you're able to bring a better athlete and a better teammate because you are prepared fully as an individual. So the aspect of being selfish is key, because when you're training for an event, honestly, the only thing that should matter is if you're getting better every day, not if your teammates are getting better, not if you're helping somebody else out. That's all fine and dandy when it matters as far as the sport and you're getting involved with competition. But when you're trying to get better as an individual, if you do all of those things, when you get onto the field, you make your team better as a whole. So one of the things that we try to focus on in the training process is how do we actually teach the athlete to be selfish? Now, respectably. Now, I'm not talking about being a jerk, because a lot of kids nowadays, they think, well, hey, it's all about me. I'm bigger than the team, or I'm bigger than the sport itself. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about taking an approach as a professional, taking an approach where they can take ownership in the training, in the amount of food that they put in their body, the type of food that they put in their body, the rest that they have, and just every little detail to the training process. If they're focused on getting better every day, they're going to be very selfish, because they're not going to be, hey, my friend wants to come hang out. You got to push that away, especially at the high school level, where, you have a lot of friends that don't have the aspirations that you might have. I mean, I meet kids all the time. They tell me, hey, Coach, I want to play Division I football. I want to play in the NFL. Well, if you want to go play at Michigan, there's only so many guys that are going to get that opportunity at that level. And a lot of your friends, forget going to Michigan, they might not even have the goals to play at the college level at all. And you're over there, you have a very different goal than they do. Well, you going out on a Friday night might not be what you need to do in order to reach your goal. So you need to learn to be selfish. And sometimes selfish is not being popular. And that's a very hard thing for a high school kid to swallow, because, they're in the confines of the social interaction of younger kids that are maturing, and they just haven't done it yet. And they're still trying to find out who they are. And once they truly understand that, hey, being selfish, respectably and doing it the right way makes you a better athlete, makes you a better teammate, and makes you a more success, you're going to learn to do that. And then on the flip side of it is learning to be a better teammate. How do you enjoy the successes of others by helping them get there? How do you learn to leverage the fact that, hey, I need something, so I'm going to work with my coach, I'm going to work with another player so he can help me out, and in turn, I'm going to make them better. There's different types of sports. I mean, I wrestled, I played football, I played baseball. In football, you want to win everything. In wrestling, you want to win everything. It's very selfish. In football, there's not one thing you could do on the field as an individual that's going to win the game. There's got to be everybody working together. You're just a small piece of the puzzle. Now, you might be a very important piece, but you're just one of the pieces. If they don't all work together, you're not going to win games. And in baseball, you got to learn how to win and lose, because there's never been a World Series champion that's won every single game. It just doesn't happen. So different sports have, different things that you learn. And to me, learning how to be a selfish individual as a player and get better every day so you can offer more as a team is key. And then learning how to win and lose as a team makes you a very successful athlete, because you're learning how to take the bumps in the road as you go, and you're also learning how to be excited and be proud of what you helped accomplish with many other people. And those are, without a doubt, the things that I think are key in a successful athlete.
I don't want to pigeon you into being a football guy only, but I know you do a lot of stuff with football combine prep, from the high school athletes and, again, from the college guys going into the NFL combine or even to the pro day type scenario. And so my obvious question is going to be, how long should a football player spend on preparing for the combine? And then realistically, within that time continuum, how much time do you spend focusing on teaching each aspect of the evaluation?
Well, that's a great question, and it kind of depends on what level. If we're talking about the high school level, the combine is extremely important. At the end of the day, college coaches from a recruiting process are looking at how fast that athlete is, how big they are. Can they bring something to their team that they don't already have? And speed is the common denominator. I mean, if you might not have the profile, you might not have the height, and you might not have the weight profile that coaches are looking for, but if you're a 4.4 or 4.3 or 4.5 based on certain positions, that's a game changer. And coaches know that. So they're recruiting speed everywhere they go. And at the high school level, that's key, because when you are training for the combine, not very many coaches are going to go, well, he didn't bench really well. He didn't jump really well. Those coaches know that they could put weight on you and they're in a good college weight room. They know that they're going to get you to be more explosive. But can they get an athlete that is, 4.5 every day? Not really. There's only so many of those guys out there that are good at their sport. So they're going to try to really find that speed first and then go from there. But at the NFL level, which is kind of where I started, that's a whole different ballgame. When it comes to the amount of time that we spend on preparing an athlete, we basically, they carve out a 10 to 12-week block, and 100% of their focus is getting ready for the combine, and that's it. Versus at the high school level, at the combines, there's skill position drills, there's camps that you have to go to. There's a lot of other things associated with it. At the NFL combine level, for these college kids, the NFL scouts already know if you're a good football player or not. There's nothing you're going to do at the end of your senior year or junior year for some of these kids now going in early that's going to make the coach think that you're a better football player than your film shows. So what you have to do is when you get ready for the combine, all of your focus should be focused on those events, and that's it. So for 10 to 12 weeks, that block of time is only solely focused on the NFL combine training and every one of those events. So we basically spend about 10 to 12 weeks on that, and then we break them up into smaller blocks, and we focus on each one of those events. And when we break down the event, whether it be the 40-yard dash, the vertical, the broad jump, bench, L drill, and all the others that they do at the combine, as well as the psychological testing and medical stuff that they do, we break them down like it's an Olympic event. So if someone's getting ready for the discus in the Olympics, the way that they approach that circle and the way that they grab that discus and the visualization that they have before they spin and throw is the same way that we're going to break down the 40-yard dash. So it is very detailed. We videotape everything, and then we have to break down the individual skill of how do we get in that position just to start the drill. And then it's just pounding that drill in for every single aspect of that event and for that individual athlete, because there's no cookie-cutter approach. These cookie-cutter approaches for 40-yard dashes and verticals and bench press, there might be some for certain events, but there's sure as heck not one for the vertical, and there's sure as heck not one for the shuttle or the 40-yard dash. We might be able to say, hey, in the broad jump, in the bench press, here's what we need to do, and then that's going to work for everybody across the board. But it's not going to work for everybody on the 40. And that's the money drill. That's the drill where, at the end of the day, if you're running fast, you're going to get some people to look your way. And if you don't run fast, well, that might write your ticket in a whole different area. So when we break down each event, Rob, one of the things that we do is we know where we want them from a skills perspective. We want them to be able to be in this position. We want them to be able to shoot out. We need them to be able to get 6.5 steps to get to a 10-yard mark out of the 40-yard dash. We know that. But sometimes earlier in the process of the combine when we test them, in order for them to do that, they're slower. So because we're teaching them a new skill. So at what point do we have to merge the new skill that we're teaching and the current strength and skill level that they already have? And that's something that, when we make that merge, we have to really address. So we're working on one skill. So let's say it's the start in the 40-yard dash. It is drilled over and over again. So we will probably do anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes of pure skill work. So that's not physically exhausting. It's more mentally exhausting than anything. And that is foot placement on the line. Where do we put our feet based on your body position? And then from that position, it's the next step, getting set up for the stance, moving our hands down, putting our hand on the line, walking our hand back, and then taking off. That might take us the first 2 to 3 weeks, 15 to 45 minutes every single day on that one skill. And then at that point, it's just layering over and over. So that's the process that we take somebody through. After the 2 to 3 week time period of skill acquisition, now we're chomping at the bit because we only have, 6 to 8 weeks left of grinding them out and drilling that position that they've learned over and over again so we could actually get them cash through.
You and I have discussed the mindset that's associated with college athletes and pro athletes as well, and it's neat to see a young athlete, especially someone at junior high school level, gaining that confidence, that trust, that mindset of becoming a professional work ethic type individual, not necessarily a pro being paid, but being a pro through the work ethic and the respect that they have for preparing their body for competition or the sport that they've chosen to play. I mean, how do you go about developing the relationships, trust, and communication with the people you work with and train?
Again, relationships all about trust, like you said. And a lot of times people say, practice what you preach. You hear it all the time. And as a coach, there's so many people out there that say they're experts in all these different fields, and they don't do it. So my process is just flip it. Preach what you're already doing. Preach what you practice. And then it becomes natural. And the more genuine you are, the more likely you're going to be able to build that trust with an athlete. So to me, building that relationship is all about trust. It's all about showing that you're a genuine coach.
I know you and I have discussed several times now the concept of developing speed and that concept of just becoming faster as a whole. I mean, I've been very lucky to see thousands of fitness sessions, and I don't know whether they're conditioning or they're speed development sessions for numerous reasons. And I'm always asking a question, how do you separate conditioning sessions from speed development training when preparing athletes?
I ask the question to people all the time when I watch them work out, and they ask me, like, well, what am I doing? Where does this go? And what's the most important thing right now? Is the most important thing for them to get faster, or is the most important thing for them to be in shape? And those are two very different skills. Conditioning is all about doing a repeated motion over and over again so your body is immune to it. That's it. You don't get sore if you've done 3 sets of 10 over and over and over again for the last 6 to 8 weeks. You don't get sore from that anymore if you're using the same weight, if you're doing it in the same time period, if you have the same amount of rest. You just don't get sore from it because your body's conditioned to that drill. It's simple. But in order to get someone faster, number one, it's a skill. Number two, you have to learn to move fast. And you can't do that if you're just tired. So I think all athletes, as a general statement, should be in good general fitness. They should have great general preparation. They should be in an overall good cardiovascular health. Now, when you talk about a niche sport like a power lifter, it would be nice to watch a power lifter be able to walk up the stairs without huffing and puffing and trying to find Oreos. But if a football player is huffing and puffing, that's different. We have a problem. So it's hard to find certain people in different areas that are in shape all the time because their skill doesn't necessarily need that. But as athletes, I think you need to be in shape. When you're training somebody to get faster, the last thing on your mind should be conditioning. You should treat them like, every drill they do needs to be at the highest level possible. So when I'm acquiring a skill, that should come first. So when I separate a speed session from a conditioning session, the first thing I do is move the skill aspect of the training first. The first thing is I want to make sure that they know what they're doing. They can't do that if they're tired because the first thing that goes when you're tired is your head, right? Vince Lombardi said it best, fatigue makes cowards out of all of us. Well, when your body's tired, your mind's tired. And if your mind's tired, you're not going to be able to learn anything. So when you're learning a new skill, there's no way for you to be able to adhere to the detail that the coach is giving you if you're physically and mentally worn down. So we want to make sure that's the first part of our training, learning the skill, making sure that our hands are open when we accelerate because we want to create that extension response. We don't want to tighten up. If we're starting to tighten up, everything in our entire body is going to tighten up. We have a cross-sectional imbalance to our body, so our right arm, our left leg is going to come up. If we drive back, that means our right leg is going to come up. I mean, these are all things that people don't realize when it comes to the biomechanics of things, and when we teach it, it should be so fine-tuned to where the athlete it's ingrained in their brain of these are the little things that I need to do. And if you do it when they're tired, they'll never be able to acquire that skill. So taking even 15 minutes of your session and focusing it on skill acquisition and speed work is so important.
I want to talk to you a little bit about your strength program as it relates to the combine prep scenario. And again, that potentially 10 to 12 weeks that you have to work with an individual. I mean, are there exercises that you avoid or even possibly encourage in your strength program?
Well, I might get a little flack for that question because this answer might not be what everyone's looking for. I don't back squat any of my combine guys. I don't clean any of my combine guys. I tell them, during the combine training, I said, the only thing you need to clean is your room, because they got to start their day out right. The reason why we don't back squat is just the reward isn't there. I mean, the risk is too high. Frankly, these guys have just played 4 years of football at the biggest level of college, and they're getting hit. Their spine's taking a toll. The last thing I want to do is load that spine any more than it already is. And from a back squatting standpoint, you're going to cover up a lot of the imbalances that you're going to see in athletes versus doing a lot of unilateral work with them. You're going to be able to see some of these different asymmetries and be able to pinpoint some of the areas that we need to really correct. I mean, if you just do a simple split squat and you go right to left, you're going to be able to see where an athlete is stronger and where he's weak right away. You know, the difference between putting an athlete in a goblet squat position with one dumbbell to two dumbbells down by a 10 in a suitcase position. You're going to be able to see any type of hip flexor issue if you put them in a rear leg elevated position versus in a just a standard split squat position. If you put them in a rear leg elevated position with a deficit, you're going to be able to see a lot of different imbalances because they have to really focus on where their body is as well as focus on moving that load. And those are some of the things that we look at when we're working with these high-level guys that are worth a lot of money. Is it worth me telling everybody, hey, I increased his back squat by 15, 20 pounds in a 10-week period? Look at me, I'm a great coach because I got my guy 20 pounds more in a squat, but yet he pulls his hamstring when he runs his 40? That's not going to do any good for business for me. So what I'm focused on is making sure that everything that we do in the weight room is going to correlate to the drill. And if it doesn't, then it's out of my program. It's not. There's no point of putting it in there just because I could tell, the guy down the street that our athletes squat more than his athletes. And the way I look at things is outside of the bench press, in the weight room, there's no other drill that we are actually training for. There's not another exercise that we are training for when it comes to the combine. We are actually only training for the events they are testing on. There are exercises that we do in the weight room become tools to help those other drills get better, but that's it. So the clean, they're not testing the clean, so it's out of the program. The squat, they're not testing the squat at the NFL Combine, so it's out of the program. Everything we do is going to be specific to getting them better at that drill. And if it doesn't get them better at that drill, we take it out of the program. Because even though 10 weeks seems like a long time and we're with them 3-4 sessions a day sometimes, I don't have that much time. I'm more concerned with whatever the drill is to make sure that it correlates to that event and making sure that it's going to reduce injury and produce more power output and put them in a position to where it correlates directly to that drill.
I know you're a guy that enjoys being in the huddle and you get a chance, again, to make a positive impact on a lot of different people at a lot of different levels. I mean, if somebody was in the huddle with you, is there one big message that you hope that they would take from you?
I hope that they know that I care about them, and I hope that they know that no matter what I do as a coach, they could do it themselves. Because one of my goals as a coach is to not have my athletes dependent on me. I kind of want to get them up where they grow up and then they take off and they're on their own. I mean, I tell people all the time, I get paid to tell kids what their parents have told them their entire lives. The only difference is they listen to me. We talk about as athletes in our program, we want to train the body, the mind, and the spirit. Obviously, physically, we need to get that athlete strong, fast, and in shape. You know, when it comes to the mind, we need them to be sharp. We need them to know what they're doing. They need to have a strong mental toughness for the game and everything that's going on. And then as far as their spirit, they got to be filled with character. They got to be very good young men. And if we could have, you know, the opportunity to teach them a life lesson through sports, we've done our job. So if they say, hey, Coach, I need your help to get to this level, here's the two things I'm going to ask them. First one is, how bad do you want it? It's really that simple. Because the minute you ask them that question, everything changes. Their priorities have to change. If someone tells me, I want to play in the NFL, but yet I'm going to be out partying with my boys the night before, drinking and in the club and doing all these things that you hear on ESPN, you know, when guys do something dumb, well, at that moment, your priority wasn't football. Your priority wasn't your family. Something was wrong. And, you know, I asked them that, and I want them to really think about it. How bad do you want it? Because if you really want it bad, and you want it that bad where you're willing to do whatever it takes, then you're never going to make that decision. You're never going to make that bad choice, because there's plenty of opportunities for these guys to make mistakes. And then the second question I ask them is, do you have what it takes? Now that you know how bad you want something, here's the game plan, and here's what you got to do. Do you have what it takes to get there? Not many people do. That's why less than 1% guys play college football. And less than 1% at that level play professional football. So we're working on very, very small numbers of the best athletes. You might have a lot of talent, and if you don't work hard, you're only going to get so far. And at the end of the day also, too, if you got a lot of hard work and you're not really talented, well, you better be able to show in certain areas that you can outweigh that. I want a guy, when they leave the huddle with me, knowing exactly what they want and know that they're willing to put the work in, and that no matter what anyone tells them, they can do it.
I'm sure that after we get done here with the show, there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of questions about combine prep or even working with football players as a whole. And I'm hoping that they get a chance to reach out to you, Big Dog, just to ask questions and hopefully give an opportunity to learn from them and then learn from you as well, and make sure it's a two-way street. I mean, if anybody had any questions about what we were talking about here in any realm, whether it's combine preps, working with football players, building relationships, I mean, how could they go about reaching out to you?
My company called the Sport and Speed Institute. We're located in Northern Virginia, right next to the Capitol in D.C. And just go to trainssi.com, and you'll find my contact information there. There's plenty of different ways to, reach out to me. Whether I'm speaking or I'm attending, I'm at most of your events in our area because, you see me, I met you as a attendee of one of your events because I'm always learning. And if I'm not, matter of fact, the event that I'm speaking at, I'm taking more notes at because it's like we got a great group of out there. I want to learn from them. So, if someone comes into my gym, I want to learn and see what they got. I want to know, maybe how can you help me? But reach out to me. I have no problem helping people out. That's how I got, where I am in this industry, and I still got a long way to go. And it's all about connections. The network, it's huge. As big as our network in the strength and conditioning field is, and in the sport world as coaches, we're a very tight-knit group. You and I have so many mutual friends, but yet we didn't know each other within that group. But yet because we know those people and we're friends with each other, it's like all of a sudden it's an instant bond. And to me, that's so important. The bond that we have as coaches and as athletes, that lives with you forever. So, open door policy in my gym. Come on anytime. I'd love to meet with people, and I love to learn from them.
Again, Justin, man, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day. I know you're a busy dude, so to get you on the phone here and add you to the audio interview series is obviously an honor, my man. It's been a privilege of mine to get a chance to learn more about you and what you got going on, and again, just how open you are to just having a general conversation about anything within the field or within business, for that matter. One big thing that I'm learning about is the business side of it, coming from my background, and it's awesome to get a chance to just talk shop and be very honest with you both ways. I feel like you're very open with everybody that gets a chance to ask questions to you or with you, or just get a chance to want to know more about what you got going on or how you got where you are, man. So I can only give you a tip of my cap kind of thing to say thanks again for all that you're doing for the field, inspiring the young guys and ladies that get a chance to work with, and hopefully you keep on doing what you're doing, man. You're making big-time strides with the field, and I look forward to just keeping in touch.
Absolutely, me too. And again, I appreciate it. The honor is mine. It's been a phenomenal thing. I've listened to quite a few podcasts that you've put on, and there's some great people to be on there, and it's nice to be on the same platform as some of those great minds of the field. And when it comes to honesty, I will shoot you straight. Here's a great bit. Go look on STT's website and see the video of me talking about honesty with our NFL Combine guys. That will give you a real quick snapshot of how we handle our guys when it comes to being honest and upfront about things, and what it means to be a professional athlete. I mean, we talk about being a pro. You got to be passionate about what you want to do. You got to be resilient in your pursuit of what your goals are, and you got to take ownership in what you do. And as a coach, I feel the same way. And that's what being a pro is all about. You represent that in our field at the highest level. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate your time again, man. Thank you very much for the kind words, and hopefully this is again another opportunity for us to do things down the road, man. I look forward to keeping in touch, and hope all's well, man.
You got it. Thanks again, Rob.